Hi, hello. Welcome to i-TUTOR NCERT series. Today, we will be discussing Class 10 Geography NCERT, Chapter 1, Resource and Development. Everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs, provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptance, can be termed as resources. Okay, so what is resources? That everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs and provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable. Okay, so they can be termed as resources. Now, the process of transformation of things available in our environment involves an interior dependent relationship between nature, technology, and institution. Human beings interact with nature through technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Resources are a function of human activities. Human beings themselves are essential components of resources. They transform material available in our environment to resources and use them. These resources can be classified in the following ways. First one, on the basis of origin. So that is biotic and abiotic resources. Okay, so on the basis of origin, the resources can be classified as biotic and abiotic. Then, on the basis of exhaustibility, that is renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership, individual, community, and national and international. On the basis of status of development, potential, developed, stock, and reserves. Okay. So, first one is on the basis of origin, biotic and abiotic. On the basis of exhaustibility, renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership, individual, community, national and international. And on the basis of status of development, potential, development, stock, and reserves. Okay. Now, types of resources. On the basis of origin, biotic resources. Okay, so first one on the basis of origin, that is first biotic resources. They are obtained from biosphere and have life such as human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. Next one is abiotic resources. All those things which are composed of non-living things are called abiotic resources. For example, rocks and metals. Okay, so rocks and metals are abiotic. So on the basis of origin, biotic resources and abiotic resources. Biotic resources are those obtained from biosphere and have a life such as human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. And second one is abiotic resources, that those things which are composed of non-living and are called abiotic resources. Example, rocks and metals. On the basis of exhaustibility, first one is renewable resource. The resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical process are known as renewable or replenishable resources. Okay, so what is renewable? Those resources which can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical process are known as renewable or replenishable resources. Example, solar and wind energy, water, forest and wildlife. See, so these are renewable resources. The renewable resources may further be divided into continuous or flow. Now, non-renewable resources. These occur over a very long geological time. Minerals and fossil fuels are examples of such resources. So, non-renewable means they occur over a very long geological time. They took very long geological time. An example, mineral and fossil fuels. These resources take millions of years in their formation. Some of the resources like metals are recyclable and some like fossil fuels cannot be recycled and get exhausted with their use. Next, on the basis of ownership. Okay, so first we discussed about the basis of origin. Then, now on the basis of ownership. Okay, then second one on the basis of exhaustibility. Okay, that is renewable and non-renewable. Now on the basis of ownership. First one is individual resources. These are also owned privately by individuals. Okay, so these are owned by individuals. Many farmers own land which is allotted to them by government against the payment of revenue. In village, there are people with land ownership, but there are many who are landless. Urban people own plots, houses, and other property. Plantation, pasture lands, ponds, water in wells, etc. are such examples of resources ownership by individuals. Okay, so these are examples for the resources owned by individuals. And make a list of resources owned by your household. Okay, so do you know what are the resources in your household? Just make a list. Now, second one is community owned resources. These are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. Village commons, that is grazing grounds, burial grounds, village ponds, etc. So these are some examples for community owned resources. Then public parks, picnic spots, playground in urban areas are also accessible to the people living there. Okay, so that's also community owned resources. Now, national resources. Technically, all the resources belong to a nation. Okay, so that is called national resources. That is, all the resources belong to a nation. The country has legal powers to acquire even private property for public good. You might have seen roads, canals, railways being constructed on a field owned by some individuals. So these are the national resources. The nation has that power. Urban development authorities get empowered by the government to acquire land. All the minerals, water resources, forest, wildlife, land within a political boundary and oceanic area up to 12 nautical miles, that is 19.2 km from the coast, termed as territorial water, and resources therein belong to the nation. So all these resources are belong to the nation. Okay, that is all minerals, then water resources, forest, wildlife, land within a political boundary, and the ocean area, that is up to 12 nautical miles, that is 19.2 km, that is called territorial water, and all these resources are belong to the nation. Now, international resources. These are international institutions which regulate some resources. The oceanic resource beyond 200 km of exclusive economic zone belong to an open sea, and no individual country can utilize this without the concurrence of the international institutions. Okay, so what is international resources? They are international institutions which regulate some resources. And the oceanic resource beyond 200 km of exclusive economic zone, that belong to open area, and no individual country can utilize this without the concurrence of international institutions. Okay, so next one, on the basis of status of development. First one is potential resources. Resources which are found in a region but have not been utilized. For example, the western part of India, particularly Rajasthan and Gujarat, have enormous potential for the development of wind and solar energy, but so far these have not been developed properly. Okay, so but today there are some changes, because there are the number of solar energy and the number of solar mills and wind mills are increasing in these areas. Okay, the situation is changing. Next one is developed resources. Resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. The development of resources depend on technology and the level of the feasibility. Now, stock. Materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to access this, are included among the stock. For example, water is a compound of two inflammable gases, hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, we know water is a combination of hydrogen, that is H2, and O, that is oxygen. So, which can be used as a rich source of energy, but we do not have the required technical know how to use them for this purpose. Hence, it can be considered as a stock. Reserves are the subset of the stock, which can be put into use with the help of existing technology, known how, but their use has not been started. These can be used for meeting future requirements. River water can be used for generating hydroelectric power, but presently it is being utilized only to a limited extent. Okay, thus the water in the dams, forests, etc. is a reserve which can be used in the future. Next one is development of resources. Resources are vital for human survival as well as for maintaining the quality of life. It was believed that resources are a free gift of nature. As a result, human beings used them indiscriminately, and this has led to the following major problems. First one, depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. Accumulation of the resources in a few hands, which in turn divided the security into two segments, haves and have-nots, or rich and poor. Okay, so the accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, haves, that means rich people, or those who have everything, and the second people are have-nots, they are poor people. Next, indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to the global ecological crisis such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, and environmental pollution and land degradation. Okay, so these are some of the problems due to this exploitation. An equitable distribution of resources has become essential for a sustained quality of life and a global peace. If the present trend of resource depletion by a few individuals and countries continue, the future of our planet is in danger. So therefore, resource planning is essential for sustainable existence of all forms of life. Sustainable existence is component of sustainable development. Okay. Now, Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. Look at this. In June 1992, more than 100 heads of the states met in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for the first International Earth Summit. Okay, for the first International Earth Summit. The summit was convened for addressing urgent problems of environmental protection and socio-economic development at the global level. The assembled leaders signed the Declaration on Global Climatic Change and Biological Diversity. The Rio Convention endorsed the Global Forest Principle and adopted Agenda 21 for achieving sustainable development in the 21st century. Okay, so what is sustainable development? The sustainable economic development means development should take place without damaging the environment. And development in the present should not compromise with the needs of future generation. Okay, so that is called a sustainable development. It means the development should take place without damaging the environment, and if the present should not compromise with the needs of future generation. So let's look what is Agenda 21. It is the declaration signed by world leaders in 1992 at the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, that is UNCED, which took place at Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. It aims at achieving global sustainable development. Okay, so what is the aim? Global sustainable development. Okay. Now, it is an agenda to combat environmental damage, poverty, disease through global cooperation on common interest, mutual needs, and shared responsibilities. One major objective of Agenda 21 is that every local government should draw its own local Agenda 21. Okay. Now, resource planning. Resource planning. Planning is the widely accepted strategy for judicious use of resources. It has importance in a country like India, which has enormous diversity in the availability of resources. There are regions which are rich in certain types of resources, but are deficit in some other resources. There are some regions which can be considered self-sufficient in terms of the availability of resources, and there are some regions which have acute shortage of some vital resources. For example, the state of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh are rich in mineral and coal deposits. Arunachal Pradesh has abundance of water resources but lack in infrastructure development. The state of Rajasthan is very well endowed with solar and wind energy, but lacks in water resources. The cold desert of Ladakh is relatively isolated from the rest of the country. It has very much a rich cultural heritage, but it is deficient in water, infrastructure, and some vital minerals. So this is called for balanced resource planning at the national, state, regional, and local level. Okay, so that's about the resource planning. Resource planning are very much important, and that's widely accepted one. Now, resource planning in India. Resource planning is a complex process which involves identification and inventory of resources across the region of the country, and this involves surveying, mapping, and quality and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources. So the identification involves surveying, mapping, qualitative and quantitative estimation and measurement of the resources. Second one is evolving a planning structure to endeavor with appropriate technology, skill and institutional setup for implementing resource development plans. Third one, matching the resource development plans with overall national development plans. Okay, so these are some resources planning in India. India has made concreted efforts for achieving the goals of resource planning right from the first 5-year plan launched after independence. The availability of resources is necessary condition for the development of any nation or any region, but merely availability of resources in the absence of corresponding changes in technology and institutions may hinder development. There are many regions in our country that are rich in resources, but these are included in economically backward region. On the contrary, there are some regions which have a poor resource base, but they are economically developed. The history of colonization reveals that rich resources in the colonies were the main attraction for the foreign invaders. It was primarily the higher level of technological development of the colonizing countries that helped them to exploit resources of other regions and establish their supremacy over the colonies. Therefore, resources can contribute the development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technological development. Okay, so the resources can contribute to development only when they are accompanied by appropriate technology, accompanied by appropriate technological development and institutional changes. India has experienced all these different phases of colonization. Therefore, in India, development in general and resource development in particular does not only involve the availability of resources, but also the technology, quality of human resources and the historical experience of the people. Now, conservation of resources. Resources are vital for any developmental activity, but irrational consumption and overutilization of resources may lead to socio-economic and environmental problems. To overcome these problems, resources conservation at various levels is important. This had been the main concern of the leaders and thinkers in the past. For example, Gandhiji was very apt in voicing his concern about resource conservation in his word, "There is enough for everybody's need and not for anybody's greed." Okay, so this is a famous quote by Gandhiji. He placed the greedy and selfish individuals and exploitative nature of modern technology as the root cause of resource depletion at the global level. He was against mass production and wanted to replace it with the production by the masses. Now, land resources. We live on land. We perform our economic activities on land and we use it in different ways. Thus, land is a natural resource of utmost importance. It supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport, and communication system. However, land is an asset of a finite magnitude. Therefore, it is important to use the available land for various purposes with careful planning. India has land under a variety of relief features, namely mountain, plateaus, plains, and islands. About 43% of the land area is plain, which provide facilitate for agriculture and industry. Mountains account for 30% of the total surface area of the country and ensure perennial flow of some rivers and provide facilities for tourism and ecological aspects. About 27% of the area of the country is plateau region and it possesses a rich resource of minerals, fossil fuels and forest. Okay, so the 43% of the land is plain. If you consider this as India, okay, 43%. 43% is plain area. Now 30% is mountain. Okay, and the rest 27 area is plateau. Okay, so this is the distribution of land. 43% is plain area, then 30% is mountain, and 27% is plateau. It possesses rich resources of mineral, fossil fuels, and forest. Now, land utilization. Land resources are used for the following purpose. First, forest. Then, land not available for cultivation, that is barren and wasteland. Then, land put non-agriculture uses, that is building, roads and factories. So, these are land not available for cultivation. Okay, these are the lands not available for cultivation. Then, third one, other uncultivated land, excluding fallow land, permanent pastures and grazing land, land under miscellaneous tree crops grow, okay, that is not included in net zone area, and cultivable wasteland, that is left uncultivated for more than 5 agricultural years. So these are the land utilization. And next one is fallow land, that is current fallow, that is left without cultivation for 1 or less than 1 agricultural year, and other than current fallow, that is left uncultivated for past 1 to 5 agricultural years. Then final one is net zone area, area sown more than once in an agricultural year plus net zone area is known as gross cropped area. Okay, so that is the land utilization. Next one is land use pattern in India. The use of land is determined both by physical factors such as topography, climate, soil type, as well as human factors such as population density, technological capacity, and cultural and traditional, etc. Okay, so there are physical factors as well as human factors for the use of for the land determination. Then physical factors are topography, climate, soil, etc. And human factors are population density, technological capacity, and cultural, traditional, etc. Now, total geographical area of India is 3.28 million square kilometer square kilometer. Land use data, however, is available only for 93% of the total area because the land use reporting for most of northeast states except Assam has not been done fully. Moreover, some areas of Jammu and Kashmir occupied by Pakistan and China have also not been surveyed, that is Pak occupied Kashmir and some parts in China. The land under permanent pastures have also decreased. Most of the other than the current fallow lands are either of poor quality or the cost of cultivation of such land is very high. Hence, these lands are cultivated once or twice in about 2 to 3 years. If these are included in the net zone area, then the percentage of NSA in India comes to about 54% of the total reporting area. Okay, now the pattern of net zone area varies greatly from one state to another. It is over 80% of the total area in Punjab and Haryana, and less than 10% in Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Manipur, Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Then forest areas in the country is far lower than the desired 33% of geographical area as it was outlined in the National Forest Policy 1952. It was considered essential for maintenance of the ecological balance, the livelihood of millions of people who live on the fringes of this forest depend upon it. A part of the land is termed as wasteland and land put to other non-agricultural uses. Wasteland includes rocky, arid and desert areas and land put to other non-agriculture uses includes settlements, roads, railways, industries, etc. Now, continuous use of land over a long period of time without taking appropriate measures to conserve and manage it has resulted in land degradation. So this in turn has serious repercussion on society and the environment. So what is land degradation and what are the conservation measures? Look at this. 95% of our basic needs for food, shelter and clothing are obtained from land. Human activities have not only brought about degradation of land but have also aggravated the pace of natural forces to cause damage to land. Okay, so it increased the pace. Okay, increase the pace of natural forces to cause the damage of land. At present, there are about 130 million hectares of degraded land in India. Approximately 28% of it belongs to the category of forest degraded area and 56% of its water eroded area, and the rest is affected by saline and alkaline deposits. Some human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining and quarrying too have contributed significantly in land degradation. So these are some factors which causes the land degradation. Mining sites are abandoned after excavation work is complete, leaving deep scars and traces of overburdening. In states like Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh and Orissa, deforestation due to mining have caused severe land degradation. Okay, so there is severe land degradation due to the mining in Odisha, then Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. In states like Gujarat, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra, overgrazing is one of the main reasons for land degradation. So here mining and here the overgrazing. Then in states of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, over irrigation is responsible for land degradation due to waterlogging leading to increase in salinity and alkalinity of the soil. The mineral processing like grinding of limestone for cement industry and calcite and soapstone for ceramic industry generate huge quantity of dust in the atmosphere. It retards the process of infiltration of water into the soil after it settled down on the land. So in recent years, industrial effluents as a waste become major source of land and water pollution in many parts of the country. There are many ways to solve the problem of land degradation. Afforestation and proper management of grazing can help to some extent. So these are important things, that is afforestation and proper management of grazing. These can help to reduce the land degradation. Planting of shuttle beds of plants, control on overgrazing, and stabilization of sand dunes by growing thorny bushes are some of the methods to check the land degradation. Okay. Now, proper management of wastelands, control of mining activities, proper discharge and disposal of industrial effluents and waste after treatment can reduce the land and water degradation in industrial and suburban areas. Okay, so these are the important things to do to conserve the land or to stop the land degradation. Now, soil as a resource. Soil is the most important renewable natural resource. So soil is a renewable natural resource. It is the medium of plant growth and support different types of living organisms on earth. The soil is a living system. It takes millions of years to form soil up to a few centimeters in depth. Relief, parent rocks or bed rocks, climate, vegetation and other forms of life and time are important factors in the formation of soil. So, relief, parent rock or bedrock, then climate, vegetation and time. So these are some important factors that cause the formation of soil. Various forces of nature such as change in temperature, actions of running water, wind and glaciers, activities of decomposers, etc. contribute to the formation of soil. Okay, so these are also contribute to the formation of soil. That is various natural forces such as change in temperature, action of running water, wind and glaciers and inorganic material. Okay, so soil have humus and inorganic material. Humus means its organic components. On the basis of factors responsible for soil formation, color, thickness, texture, age, chemical and physical properties, the soil of India can be classified in different types. Okay, now we can classify the soils of India into different types. First one, India has varied relief features, landforms, climate reliefs and vegetation types. These have got contributed in the development of various types of soil. First one is alluvial soil. So what is alluvial soil? This is the most widely spread and important soil. Okay, so these are the widely spread and important soil. In fact, the entire northern plains are made of alluvial soil. These have been deposited by three important Himalayas rivers, that is Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. So they have been deposited by three important Himalayan rivers. These soils also extended in Rajasthan and Gujarat through a narrow corridor. Alluvial soil is also found in the eastern coastal plains, particularly in deltas of Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and the Kaveri rivers. So this can also see in the eastern coastal plains, that is particularly in the delta of Mahanadi, Kaveri, Godavari and Krishna. Okay, so alluvial soil, these are mainly seen in the entire northern plain and it's also seen in the eastern coastal plains including the Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri rivers. Now, in upper reaches of the river valleys, that is near the places of break of slope, the soils are coarse. Such soils are more common in predominant plains such as Duas, Chaos and Terai. Now, apart from the size of their grains or components, soils are also described on the basis of their age. According to their age, alluvial soils can be classified as old alluvial, that is Banker, then new alluvial, that is Khadar. The Banker soil has high concentration of Kankar nodules than the Khadar. So it has more fine particles and is more fertile than the Banker. Okay, so the Banker soil has high concentration of Kankar nodules, okay, than the Khadar. So it has more fine particles and is more fertile than the Banker. Alluvial soils as a whole are very fertile. So alluvial soils are very fertile. Mostly these soils contain adequate proportion of potash, phosphoric acid and lime, which are ideal for the growth of sugarcane, paddy, wheat and other cereals and pulse crops. Due to its high fertility, regions of alluvial soils are intensively cultivated and densely populated. Soils in the drier areas are more alkaline and can be productive after proper treatment and irrigation. So that's about the alluvial soil. Next one is black soil. So as the names denote, these soils are black in color and are also known as regur soils. Then these are ideal for the growing cotton and is also known as black cotton soil. It is believed that climatic condition along with the parent rock materials are the important factor for the formation of black soil. So what is the important factor for the formation of black soil? It is the climatic condition along with the parent rock material. This type of soil is typical of the Deccan Trap, that is basalt region spread over the northwest Deccan Plateau and is made up of lava flows. They cover the plateaus of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh. Okay, so these cover the areas of Maharashtra, Saurashtra, Malwa, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh and extend in the southeastern direction along the Godavari and the Krishna valleys. The black soil are made up of extremely fine clay material. So the black soil are made up of extremely fine clay material. They are well known for their capacity to hold moisture. Okay, so they are known for the capacity to hold moisture. In addition, they are rich in soil nutrients such as calcium carbonate, magnesium, potash and lime. These soils are generally poor in phosphoric content. They develop deep cracks during hot weather, which helps in proper aeration of the soil. Okay, so in the hot time they create deep cracks and which helps in the proper aeration of soil. These soils are sticky when wet and difficult to work on unless tilled tilled immediately after the first shower or during the pre-monsoon period. So that's about the black soil. Next one is red and yellow soil. The red soil develops on crystalline igneous rocks in areas of low rainfall in the eastern and southern parts of Deccan Plateau. Yellow and red soils are also found in parts of Orissa, Chhattisgarh, southern parts of the Middle Ganga Plain and along Piedmont zone of Western Ghats. These soils developed a reddish color due to the diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. So why they are seen as red color? Because of the diffusion of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rocks. It looks yellow when it occurs in hydrate form. So it can be seen in yellow when it occurs in the hydrate form. Next one is laterite soil. Laterite has been derived from the Latin word later, which means brick. The laterite soil develops in area with high temperature and heavy rainfall. Okay, so it needs high temperature and heavy rainfall. This is the result of intense leaching due to heavy rain. Humus content of the soil is low because most of the microorganisms, particularly the decomposers like bacteria, get destroyed due to the high temperature. So laterite soil are suitable for cultivation with adequate doses of manure and fertilizers. These soil are mainly found in the Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh and the hilly areas of Orissa and Assam. After adopting appropriate soil conservation techniques, particularly in the hilly areas of Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, this soil is very useful for growing tea and coffee. Red laterite soil in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Kerala are most suitable for the crops like cashew nut. Okay, so the red laterite soil is also suitable for the crops like cashew nut. Next one is arid soil. So the arid soil ranges from red to brown in color. They are generally sandy in texture and saline in nature. So they are sandy in texture. The texture is sanded and the nature is saline nature. In some areas of the salt content is very high in common salt is obtained by evaporating the water. Due to dry climate, high temperature, evaporation is faster and the soil lacks humus and moisture. The lower horizons of the soil are occupied by conker because of the increasing calcium content downwards. Okay, so they have a high calcium content, so that's why they are occupied by conker. So this conker layer restrict the water infiltration. After proper irrigation, these soils become cultivable as has been in the case of Western Rajasthan. So if you give a proper irrigation to this soil, then it is good for cultivation. Next one is forest soil. They are mainly found in the hilly areas or the mountain areas. The soil texture varies according to the mountain environment where they are formed. They are loamy and silty in valley sides and coarse grained on the upper slopes. Okay, so they are loamy and silty in the valley side and coarse grained in the upper slopes. In the snow-covered areas of Himalayas, these soil experience denudation and are acidic with low humus content. The soil found in the lower parts of the valley, particularly on the river terraces and alluvial fans, are fertile. Okay, so the soil found in the lower parts, mainly in the river terraces and the alluvial fans, and these are fertile soil. Okay. Now, soil erosion and soil conservation. The denudation of the soil cover, the subsequent washing down is described as soil erosion. So what is soil erosion? The denudation of the soil cover and the subsequent washing down is described as the soil erosion. Okay. Now, the process of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously and generally there is a balance between the two. Sometimes this balance is disturbed due to the human activities like deforestation, overgrazing, construction and mining, etc. While natural forces like wind, glaciers and water lead to soil erosion. The running water cuts through the clay soils and make deep channels as a gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as bad land. In the Chambal basin, such lands are called ravines. Sometimes water flows as a sheet over large areas down a slope. In such cases, the top soil is washed away. This is known as sheet erosion. Okay, so what the top soil In some cases, the topsoil washed away, and this is known as sheet erosion. Wind blows loose soil or flat or sloping land known as wind erosion. So next one is wind erosion. Then soil erosion is also caused due to defective methods of farming, plowing in a wrong way, up and down the slope from channels for a quick flow of water leading to soil erosion. Plowing along the contour lines can decelerate the flow of water down the slopes. This is called contour plowing. Okay, so this can decelerate and this can reduce the flow of water. Steps can be cut on the slopes, making terraces. So terrace cultivation restricts erosion. Western and central Himalayas have well-developed terrace farming. Large fields can be divided into strips, and strips of grass are left to grow between the crops. This breaks up the force of the wind. And this method is known as strip cropping. Okay, so this method is known as strip cropping. Planting lines of trees to create shelter also works in similar way. Rows of such trees are called shelter belts. So these shelter belts have contributed significantly to the stabilization of sand dunes and in stabilizing the desert in the western India. Okay, so this is about this chapter. If you have any doubts, you can comment below. For more videos, do like, share, subscribe.